everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, Donald Thomas, and this is a special victory edition, right? Victory edition of Believe in Colts. This is awesome. The Indianapolis Colts now have won 2 games straight, walking into the bye week at 500. It's like a new season. They're ready to do something, but are they really? We're going to get into that and much, much more in just a moment. But Donald, how have you been, and what's your initial thoughts of the game?
I've been good, man. I'm happy the Colts were able to string 2 in a row and go into the bye week feeling good about themselves. I know there's no better feeling than going into the bye week and on a high note instead of, having to drag through a week of no game coming up and practice, and it's mundane and coaches are all upset. So I know those guys are happy over there on 56th Street. I'm happy for them that they got some wins under their belt and they're, at 500, and they can kind of put this kind of half of the season away and focus on the last half of the season and try to make a push for this, playoff spot and see if they can make some noise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But before we get into this game, I got to remind everybody that BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NFL, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the Indianapolis Colts walk into Germany. This was I actually enjoyed the fact that it was in Germany. I like watching a lot of the the media pressers with the Germans asking. They know football. They actually know football out there in Germany, which was shocking because I've watched a lot of media pressers from like London, and you're hearing a lot of crazy questions. You're like, what kind of, do you even know what you're talking about here? Germany knows. They get detailed in their questions. They were asking like specific scheme questions for players and their specific jobs on specific play designs and things of that nature. And I was completely shocked. Did you expect Germany to be able to be, when you think of overseas, do you honestly think that got people saying like let's say Germany, is as in American football smart as they actually are?
I wasn't surprised. Germany actually pumps out a few football players a year. They come over here and go to college or come straight over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I played with 2 guys from Germany, Sebastian Vollmer with the Patriots and then Bjorn Werner here with the Colts. And so, like, I wasn't surprised. Like, when I met, Bjorn, I've learned that they play football over there and guys get discovered and they come to college and they're actually pretty decent. They're not like they're not bad football players. So that wasn't surprising to me. They also do have like a kind of professional football league over there that they that I know of a couple guys that have gone over in the past and that played over there. And Italy has some professional football too. So if they ever play a game in Italy, don't be surprised to get some good questions from them too. So no, I mean, Germany's on the map as far as, their sports programs. You look at it from even guys in the NBA, they got guys that can come over and play, man. So, they're very much into it more so than London, where London's just like, okay, you play football, good job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's terrible London accent, but whatever. Germany's on it, man. So I was not surprised.
Yeah. Ooh, you talk about Italy. It'd be interesting to have a game in Italy. That would be fun. I'm all for the NFL spreading out, especially across Europe and other places. I mean, obviously they've been to Mexico a few times as well. Just trying to get the feel for football out, but obviously kind of limited on how far you can go and actually have a team in the. I mean, you're not going to have a game in Tokyo. Are we? I mean, or Beijing or something. I mean, because that's a hell of a trip, right? I mean,
that's a big ask to have guys, fly over there. I mean, Germany's far enough, but it's close enough as well. You can get there in, a reasonable amount of time. It's like, I think when we flew to London, it was like 5-hour flight. So it wasn't terrible. It's doable. It's just the time change is the main thing that kind of throws guys off, playing 9:30 in the morning, although it feels like it's, 2:30 in the afternoon for them, it's still 9:30, depending on what time those guys get out there. So that was another element too to the game, right? Is like having guys acclimated to the time change. Excuse me, like the new surroundings. Everything's literally foreign, no pun intended. So, getting guys it can be a distraction. And so, like, the Colts definitely didn't need a distraction coming into this game. Albeit, they're playing the Patriots, who are struggling. But I wasn't like, this game is just in the bag for sure, just because, you just never know what you're going to get sometimes from the Colts, and you just never know what you're going to get from teams playing overseas, literally. Like, you just don't know. And that could have been a game where, Belichick could have had those guys' minds right to beat, the Colts. And luckily they didn't. But, you just never know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. Zaire Franklin comes back from his, what was it, a concussion or injury or something like that? No, it was that injury. It was like a knee or something.
Yeah.
15 total tackles. Again, dude is a monster out there on the field. He is doing everything that you could ask for a Mike to do out there in the midst of where the football is at all times. The defense, not just Zaire this week, but multiple players came to play defensively. Dayo Odeyingbo had a game of his life, 3 sacks, even though I'm like, one of those sacks should be shared with DeForest Buckner. I think they kind of met the guy at the same time. Well, but it is what it is.
Dayo hit him first, though.
Yeah.
He hit him first, but it was great pressure by both of them. Like, like DeForest, DeForest, the way he starts games, I wish he would finish games. It's like he has so much juice in the tank, and he kind of empties it before, right, like the first half, and then like second half is just like he's still there, but it's not like those first couple series of rushes that he has where he's just like very destructive. And man, I like, honest to God truth, like from a 3 technique perspective, if he could play that all game, he would be up like with a Myles Garrett type of game changing kind of capabilities. When he goes, he can go. You know what I'm saying? Like if I had to block him, you got your hands full. More so in the first half than the second half. There's just track record just proves it. But I mean, he was back there too, man. He added to that pressure and he got to him. But I hope I'm saying his name right. Is it Dayo or Dayo? Dayo. Excuse me. Apologize. Dayo. He was a monster. Start this game off though.
Absolutely. Don't worry about it. I got it messed up until like my second year when they actually pronounced it for me, and I was like, "Oh, good. Now I know how to pronounce your name." No. That happens a lot. I end up having to ask the player specifically, how do you pronounce your name? So I get this right. But the entire front four, the entire defensive line did very, very good job this game. Kwity Paye got a sack. Tyquan Lewis got a sack. Sampson came close a couple times. Look, it was like around 50% pressure percentage in a game. Now, granted, New England Patriots, their offensive line beat up, not doing that great this year, but still the New England Patriots. That's weird to say that New England Patriots offensive line is not doing well, because it seems like in years past they're the team that just produced offensive linemen, left and right. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of odd. Where does this take you when it comes to thinking about the New England Patriots right now? You got Bill Belichick. Mac Jones, had his situation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But with Bill Belichick right now and the offensive line not performing up to historically New England standards, what can Bill do about that? I mean, that's.
Yeah. So the key piece to this whole operation of why New England's so bad is because of Dante Scarnecchia. When Dante Scarnecchia, a lot of people don't know who that is, but that was the longest tenured New England coach, retired recently a couple of years ago. He coached the offensive line. And so he coached me when I was there. He has produced great offensive lines. And Howard Mudd and Dante Scarnecchia, who a lot of people are familiar with Howard Mudd from, here, are the two, if you want to put a Mount Rushmore for offensive line coaches, they're 1 and 2, and they can be interchangeable. Some people, if you're a Howard Mudd fan, you like his techniques. If you're a Scarnecchia fan, you like his. But what I'm saying is this, not to get off track, a team is only as good as its offensive line. And I'm not being biased. I'm just telling you that from up front, from the first, you have the ball, right? And if we miss a block, if we can't get it done up front, the whole operation falls apart. So he was so instrumental in helping the Patriots be who they were in the past that when he retired and all those guys that had that Dante, we call him Scar techniques kind of went away and they got new guys in there, it just doesn't work as well. And so you're seeing this now. A lot of people are like, well, why pitch so bad? I'm telling you why they're bad. I'm not just saying it's all because of Dante Scarnecchia, because there's a lot of other pieces, like you look at Mac Jones. But what I'm saying is from a standpoint of you look at that first half, giving up 3 sacks, 5 sacks total in the game, then you can't, you're not producing, you're not protecting the quarterback. And that was a key thing that we really worked on, was our techniques and how to block and all that kind of stuff. So you see that from a standpoint from New England's not being good. It's not just a Belichick issue. It's a coaching issue as well as a personnel issue. But I guarantee you this, I say this with confidence, if Scarnecchia was still there with that same group of guys, they wouldn't be that bad.
Now, in pass protection, obviously, as we're talking about, they were not doing well offensively across the offensive line. But in the run game, I mean, their running backs had 33 carries, right, for 130 yards, 140 yards rushing.
Yeah,
over 140 yards rushing, averaging 4.3 yards a carry against the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, look, I have respect for Zeke. I have respect for Ramondre Stevenson, okay? But the Indianapolis Colts at the beginning of the year were very, very good against the run. They were giving up 2-3 yards a carry for entire games, right? And without Grover Stewart, they have been giving up anywhere between 4 and 6 yards a carry per game to running backs. And this is something that is incredibly worrisome, that one player, one guy can make that big of a difference in a game, period, let alone, outside of the quarterback, obviously, right? Outside of the quarterback. But when you have like a defensive tackle that is that good, that is that important, that you can't, bring a couple guys in to kind of help each other stop or help each other fill the shoes, not necessarily replace him, but do his job. That's worrisome in the long haul, because, I mean, how are the Colts supposed to win games if they can't stop the run? Amazingly, they were able to this time, but let's face it. I mean, that controls the clock. The run game is so important. It drives the entire game, an entire game plan.
167 yards is not stopping the run, in my opinion. But, at the end of the day, once Grover, started his hiatus or his suspension, so to speak, you do see that the run game has been struggling. Now, I'll say this. He is a key piece to stopping the run up the middle. But there are still outside runs. There are still, different type of runs where you can run away from Grover. So I'm not going to put it all just on one person and say he is the end-all, be-all for the run game. He definitely is a huge piece of the run, stopping the run. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to everyone else stepping up. And so, Zaire's been playing well in the middle, but if he's making a tackle and he's not blitzing, he's, that tackle's going to be for 3-4 yards once he's finally, fitting up and getting into the run game and stopping the run. So, guys up front have to play well. Guys on the perimeter have to play better at stopping the run, right? I think the Colts' identity right now is like they were pass rush gurus. I mean, there's no question that if there's 50 drop back passes in the game, 25 to 30 of them are going to have some type of pressure to them. They're getting to the quarterback well. They have guys that have high motors, but Grover is a run stopping guy. If you see him in person, if you see him up front, like, if I was playing offensive line and I'm looking and I turn, leave the huddle and I turn around, I'm like, this dude's not about to beat me in pass rush. Like, I just know that, but I'm gonna have my hands full in the run game. He's hard to move. He comes off the ball well. He's just a big physical guy. And so, like, you see that, but guys have to step up. Like, I'm not a big guy for excuses. Like, I'm just not that kind of person. Like, yes, like if you're missing a key guy in your defense, you're gonna feel it somehow. But golly, somebody else has got to step up and make plays too. That's why we're getting paid big bucks. And so, like, the Colts definitely have to be able to stop the run, right? Because it does control a lot of the clock, make these teams throw the football. But at the end of the day, like, when you look at it from a standpoint of what's more effective, they're getting to the quarterback or the run stopping. The pass rush is way more effective, and they need to try to sew this thing up with the run game, stopping the run, because 167 yards to bottom of the barrel team is not absolutely, promising in my opinion.
No, absolutely not. Something that's also not promising is the Colts' offensive run game. In this game, we were talking about it. You brought it up before we started recording. It was incredibly lopsided in carries in this game, right? Jonathan Taylor, 23 carries. Zach Moss, 1, right? 24 carries between the running backs, and they averaged less than 3 yards a carry combined. Less than 3 yards a carry combined. That is not a recipe for success. Well, the Patriots, they ran the ball well. They owned time of possession. That is a key component to winning games. Now, obviously, giving up 5 sacks and losing the turnover battle, that is also, keys to success as well. But the Colts, what they want to do, they were unable to do against the Patriots, and that is run the ball well and hold the ball in time of possession. Is that something to be worried about going on into the future?
Absolutely. For one, if you just want to look at the lopsided carries, I mean, it's not even lopsided. You might as well say Zach Moss didn't even play running back this game. He got 1 carry for 2 yards. And you give Jonathan 23 carries. This is a guy that showed up the first 4 games or whatever that Jonathan Taylor's on the sideline and was one of the top 3 backs in the league. And now all of a sudden he gets 1 carry. And then when he's out there for those, 2 series, you said, he had 1 run. Like, what are we doing? Like, and I get it. And you said it too. Like, a lot of these teams are gearing up for the run. I get it, right? Listen, and they're stacking the box, got 8 in the box. You got safeties down low. You got the slot guys, like you said, our eyes are peeking inside because they know 9 times out of 10 in these situations that the ball's not, saying going to get thrown. But if you got a guy that's got 23 carries for 69 yards and you have a healthy guy on the sideline that can tote the rock too, I don't see how we go 23 carries to 1 carry. I just don't see that. I just don't get it. And this is not even a game where we had to start airing the ball out like we were behind. This is ground and pound football, right? Like, this is ground and pound football that they decided to play, like, because we couldn't throw the ball that well, right? We struggled throwing the football. We barely had 200 yards passing in this game. So when you look at it from a standpoint of guys are going to be unhappy, I said this a few weeks ago. If you make this thing so lopsided, like where you kind of just like mess with them and, you started giving them like a couple series here and there, and before you know it's half and half. And now this is like 99% to 1. That ain't going to fly. That's not going to fly. Like, and there's nothing wrong with having a double-headed dragon or double-headed monster at running back. When I was in, and I hate to have references, but when I played in Miami, we had Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown. And we had 8 in the box. I promise you, over 90% of the time, we averaged almost 200 yards rushing a game. You can make it work. and you have two. I'm not saying they're Ronnie and Ricky, right? They're not Heisman Trophy winners, right? But at the end of the day, like you have two good backs. What do you think about there, Lawrence? I see your eyes looking off to in the distance.
I was thinking Ricky Williams was.
No, I'm talking about here for the Colts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about here for the Colts. Like,
okay.
You don't have two Heisman Trophy winners, but you do have two good backs.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it don't have to be equal, but like 60-40.
Yeah.
See what they can do. Like, there's nothing. Listen, the problem is with the Colts is at this point is they put all their eggs in one basket with Jonathan Taylor. And so, like, you have to honor that. But to what expense? Because, like, we beat the Patriots 10-6.
Yeah.
And now we're about to pay a receiver.
Yeah.
But we don't have a quarterback right now. And we hope that the one that comes back plays well enough to necessitate or make it justifiable for the money that he's going to be getting or he is getting. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know.
You make a lot of very valid points there. And you talk about we don't have a quarterback right now. Let's get into Gardner Minshew. All right. Because there's good points about Gardner. There's bad points about Gardner. One thing I can say over the last couple weeks is Gardner has done a much better job of trying to protect the football, right? I think he's got 2 turnovers in 3 games, which isn't the last 3 games, which is much, much better than 4 turnovers a game, back-to-back games. So I will say that he's done much better in that aspect. However, I don't know if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, but he does not look comfortable in the pocket. It looks like he is looking for any and every excuse to escape the pocket, even when it's clean, right? And it looks like maybe a defensive guy might be able to slither his way in. He runs out. He looks like, a chicken with his head cut off, just bouncing around inside the pocket constantly, does not look comfortable and escapes all the time. And personally, he looks much better. Like the way he throws when he's under control and he's set, his feet are set, he's squared up, and he throws the ball. He's 10 times more accurate than when he's on the run. All right. I mean, the film shows it over and over and over and over. But he's always bouncing around in the pocket looking for a reason to escape. Do you think he's seeing ghosts from earlier, like, the first few games of the year when he had those turnovers, when he was throwing interceptions and getting sacked and fumbled and things of that, like the Baltimore game, where he was getting sacked a lot, or, the Jaguars game where, a bunch of fumbles and a bunch of interceptions, things of that. Is there ghosts there? Because, I mean, he is at quarterback, and that is the position that you got to forget the last play, let alone the last games.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to a trust issue that he has to have with his offensive line. It comes down with the trust issue that he has to have with his receivers. I think Gardner, he understands the pressure that's on him. He understands that he is the guy for the rest of the year. He understands that there's a lot of naysayers amongst, Colts fans and league-wide. He understands that he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year. So I think Gardner is the guy that's trying to make sure he doesn't make mistakes, but he's also trying to make the right play. And he's also, trying to do that with just trying to freestyle a little bit, right? Like if it's not there and he feels like somebody breathing down his neck, he's going to take off and run. And honestly, it's hard. It's a very hard throw to throw on the run across your body, and a lot of guys can't do that, right? And there's only a handful of guys like they can really make those on the run passes, like I'm trying to think of who really does it very well. Patrick Mahomes, yeah. He's one of those guys where he can contort his body and throw sideways and all that kind of stuff. It's not easy throws. And so he's less accurate, like you said, when he's on the run, just like about 90% of quarterbacks are. But he also doesn't stay in the pocket and take those hits. Like sometimes maybe he should just hang in there just a little bit longer, trust the O-line, step into his throws. Hey, listen, I ain't no freaking quarterback, coach or anything like that. But I do know, like, if your quarterback trusts you as an offensive lineman, he's more willing and he's more inapt to stay in the pocket, looks a little bit longer and make that throw. Also, though, receivers got to get open too. Now, I don't know if it's an issue of lack of speed or the routes are just taking very longer to develop or what have you. So let's throw some quick passes in there. Let's throw some 5-yard hitches or whatever it is to just get the ball out. And we've been doing a good job of doing that. We've been doing a good job of that. But it's, this is the NFL. You have to take shots down the field. You have to be able to stretch the field a little bit. And when that happens, you do see Gardner. It's questionable. It's debatable sometimes on his.
You bring up the wide receivers. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, you're good. I was.
You bring up the wide receivers and, trusting them and whether they're able to get open. And there's a lot of question marks that's been around Alec Pierce all year. And I've been on I've watched the game film over and over and over, every game this year. And I'm like, Alec is doing his job, right? Mm-hmm. He's doing exactly what is asked of him. He's getting open. The problem is he's got long routes, right? And Gardner's already got the ball out by the time, his cut, that window opportunity to throw the football is there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There was a stat that was brought up during the game on Sunday morning. Alec Pierce runs more yards per route than any other player in the NFL. That's nuts. That is crazy. All right. That tells me a lot. First off, the Colts are not offensive game plan. He's definitely your deep shot guy if he's running the most yardage per route. But you got to mix it up some. I mean, this dude, he's made some fantastic catches this year when thrown to him. Yes, he's had a drop this year. Technically, one drop all year. And Colts fans have to, they a lot of them, want to focus on that one drop. When there's a defender there, it's considered a contested catch. It's not a drop, right? If there's a defender on you, able to get hands on you and swat your hands, that's fine if the ball's there. But once that, defender's there to slap the arms, knock it out, it's considered a contested catch. Okay. Should he make those catches? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's not considered a drop because it is, defenders there to knock the ball out. And he's a fantastic blocker downfield. I think he's a better blocker than Michael Pittman Jr., which, is shocking to me. I don't like, why are we got guys on the team that is that is running more yards per route than any other player in the NFL when we obviously know Gardner Minshew does not stretch the field with his arm? That makes zero sense to me at all. Now, if it's all drag routes, that's fine. But it's not. There's a lot of go routes, a lot of posts, a lot of corners, things of that nature. And I don't like that at all. You got to have someone to run those routes, at least one player to run those routes. But Michael Pittman Jr. can run those routes too. Share them up, right? Why are we letting Michael Pittman Jr. just run little 5-yard curls or digs or something of that nature, and not allowing guys like like Alec Pierce and stuff like that? That also is something that defenses can hone in on by watching game film and be like, all right, here's tendency. We can focus our game plan on that tendency. You got to mix it up so they can be less, focused on watching for specific plays and routes by receivers.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you on that. I don't. The only thing I can possibly say is he could be just a decoy out there. But there was a guy, I like to call him Larry O. And this guy Larry O, a few weeks ago said that his patience was running thin with a guy named Alec Pierce. And so it kind of troubles me. And now Larry O's tune has changed on Alec Pierce to where he only has one drop. He's, stretching the field. He's consistent. I don't know. But, we'll just leave Larry O out of this. But no, in all seriousness, you did say your patience was running a little bit thin with Alec. I think it was like week 3, I think it was.
Like 4 or 5, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but to his defense, though, he's playing hard. He's running routes, and this is the troubling part, the puzzling part. He's running routes that we don't have the quarterback to get him the ball on those routes. So why did we continue to run those routes with Alec Pierce? Why not put him back in the passing game, have him running, outs and slants and stuff of that nature where, like Gardner can look in the middle of the field and possibly see. Gardner throwing a slant scares the living out of me. Like, it scares me big time. And I know he has the capability to get the ball to him, shorter routes. It just comes down to the offensive line timing-wise. It comes down to just everybody trusting each other. Hopefully they take this week to really go back to training camp. Hopefully they use these practice days and they all don't, the coach doesn't feel high on the horse and let them leave like on Wednesday or something like that. Let's get some not hard work in, but let's get some quality reps in. Let's get some timing stuff down. Let's get let's get this pass rush slowed down a little bit. All the above, just we can go into the second half of the season and really kind of focus on, shaking some things up because these teams are not expecting you to throw the ball down the field. Well, Gardner, I know you can throw the ball down the field. We just got to be able to do it properly, right? It can't just be up for grabs every time you throw that. Because every time he throws a deep ball, it's up for grabs because the safety's over the top and there's like two guys jumping for the ball and they're not on your team. You know what I mean? So, the Alec Pierce situation does puzzle me. I think Alec he's a good kid and he's not going to speak out about it, but he's probably, upset and talks to his other teammates about it. But, he's selfless when it comes to it. But again, down the line, hopefully a team recognizes what you're saying about him. And, when it comes time for him to, his contract's up, he goes somewhere. If not, you never know because here's the deal. You got Anthony Richardson coming back who can't throw the ball down the field. And so hopefully Anthony's taking this time to really study the game and really study the pro game. And I think this is a blessing in disguise for Colts fans and Anthony for him because he just wasn't ready. Physically, yes. Physically, he checks all the boxes. But mentally, learning, I can't take these big hits. I got to be able to throw the ball down the field. I can't throw it just down the field like college and, hopefully, somebody just goes up and gets it. No, it's got to be on point. It's got to make sense. So I think Alec they've got to find a better role for him this season, and getting him more involved in the passing game because quite honestly, your number one receiver all the time is going to be Michael Pittman. And then it's just a drop off completely of who's number two. It's kind of just up for grabs. I mean, Josh Downs had a pretty good game, right? Two receptions, 40 yards, one was 20 yards. So, 28 yards was as long. So, you know what I'm saying? You just got to find that number two. But realistically, Michael Pittman on a good team is a number two receiver.
Yeah. I mean, Downs, I will caveat when it comes to running out of the pocket. That pass to Downs in the fourth quarter to extend the drive.
Oh, man.
Was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, everybody talks about the catch from Downs, but that placement was beautiful for the way Gardner was moving at that point. I thought for sure that was an overthrown ball, but he laid that perfectly and down stretched out, caught that. That was a gorgeous play. But I think we've extended this to over 30 minutes now. We've talked a lot about the Colts and Patriots. We will be back later and discuss a few things. Obviously, we got a bye week, so lots of different stuff that we can talk about during a bye week because there's a lot of things to go on, not just with the Colts, but with the NFL. Any final words before we get out of here about the game?
Colts fans, still brace yourself for the second half of the season. The schedule's not terribly hard, but then again, crazier things happening in the NFL. So, take this. Hopefully the Colts take this week to go back to the basics and go back to finding what their true identity is in the next 3-4 days, which is going to be hard, but at least they'll kind of get some groundwork for it and hopefully make a good run at this thing. And, the key is just going to be to chase Jacksonville down and get them knocked off and slide into the playoffs.
And Jacksonville and the Texans.
I'm about to say, and you can't, man, it's been so long since you can throw Houston in there, but man,
I know. They're playing pretty darn good football.
They are playing good football.
They're over 500 right now.
They were saying possibly MVP
Yeah, MVP
and possibly
conversation.
coach
We'll get
of the
into
year.
that a little bit
Okay.
later this week.
All right.
All right. But I get you. There's a lot to talk about with our division right now.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to do it for us for this episode of Believe in Colts with myself, Lawrence Owen, and of course my guy Donald Thomas. Brought to you by Bet Online, and as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts.
Do you believe?